Hello students, myself Suresh VS. Welcome back to my channel. Let us continue the lesson Rattrap. The Rattrap by Selma Lagerlof. So please take page number 34. What did we see in the last class? The Rattrap man had taken shelter in the house of an old crofter. So they spent the night comfortably. The next day morning, the crofter got up early and went out to milk his cow. That time the Rattrap man also left his home, expressing his gratitude. So when the crofter went out, he was careful to lock his door. The house was locked perfectly. But half an hour, you see that both of them left the house. But half an hour, Rattrap peddler stood again before the door. After half an hour, you could see that the Rattrap seller, he was standing just in front of the house again. That means he came back. He did not try to get in, however. He only went up to the window, smashed a pane. Smashed means broke. A pane. Pane means window pane. Stuck in his hand. Stuck in means thrust in. Thrust in his hand. Why did he come back? He came back to steal the money of the crofter. But he did not try to break the lock and get inside. Instead of that, what did he do? He went nearby the window. He broke the window pane, window glass, and put his hand inside and took out the pouch where the money was kept. And afterwards, what did he do? He took the money and thrust into his own pocket. He took the money and pushed that money into his pocket. He took the money, then he hung the leather pouch very carefully back in its place and went away. And afterwards, you see that he kept the leather pouch again on the same place and went away from there. As he walked along with the money in his pocket, he felt quite pleased with his smartness. See, now he was walking with the money of the crofter. And that time he was really happy. He was really pleased himself with his smartness or cleverness. What a clever work he has done, he thought to himself. Okay, he thought himself he had done a very clever work or a smart job. He realized, of course, that at first he dared not continue on the public highway but must turn off the road into the woods. So while walking through the road, the public highway, the main road, he thought that it was not safe for him to walk through the road. There was a chance for him to be caught. So he thought it would be safe to turn into the woods. So immediately he moved into the woods. Woods means forest. Instead of walking through the road, he started walking through the forest. During the first hours, this caused him no difficulty. So during the first hours, you see that it was easy for him to walk through the forest. Later in the day, it became worse. But later on, it became worse. How did it become? What was the reason? Okay, how did it become worse? Let us see. For it was a big and confusing forest which he had gotten into. Why? Because the forest into which he had entered, that was a very big forest as well as a confusing forest. So walking through that forest was not easy for him. He tried to be sure to walk in a definite direction. So always he tried to walk in a definite path or a straight path. But the paths twisted back and forth so strangely. But you see that in an uncommon way, the path twisted back and forth. That means the path, you see that it was moving in one direction and later on it moved in the opposite direction, opposite to one. And it was moving, back and forth. And unless what happened? He walked and walked without coming to an end to the wood. He continued his walking, walked and walked, but that there was no end. He could not come out of the forest. He was going on walking. He could not cross the forest. And finally he realized that he had only been walking around the same part of the forest. So after walking, so many miles, he came to the same place where he started. So he understood that he was walking where he started means, he was moving around and around. And he came to the same place. Then he understood that for a long time he was walking through the same path. Okay. So he was not at all able to come out. Now his own turn had come, he thought. At once he recalled his thoughts about the world and the rat trap. Immediately he started thinking about, his own world. He started to think about the rat trap. He thought that this world is a rat trap. And now he is in the rat trap now. Before he used to be happy thinking about other people who have been caught in the rat trap. And now, so he started to think that this world is a rat trap in that he himself has been caught. Now his own turn had come. Now his own chance had come. He had let himself be fooled by a bait and had been caught. And he had been fooled by a bait, fooled by a comfort. He went for a comfort, that was the money. He had taken the money and now he has been fooled and had been caught in the rat trap. The whole forest with its trunks and branches. You see that the whole forest with a lot of trunks, woods, branches, as well as thickets, that means bushes, and fallen logs and fallen woods were there, and close in upon him. Because of that, you see that he was not able to come out or move out. It looked as if he was close inside that. Okay, like an impenetrable prison. Impenetrable, that means that cannot be crossed, that cannot be penetrated, or we can say that impossible to pass through. It was like a prison which cannot be crossed or passed through, penetrate, from which he could never escape. It was like he was not at all able to escape from that forest which was like a prison. It was late in December, you see that time, it was late in December. Darkness was already descending over the forest. Already you see that darkness started falling over the forest. This increased the danger. Surely in such a deep forest there would be the possibility for wild animals and all. So that increased the danger for the rat trap man. And increased also his gloom with the danger. He understood that it's dangerous for his life. With that he became more unhappy, gloom, that means sad. Not only that, he became very much in despair. Despair means disappointed. He was really disappointed and sad. Finally, he saw no way out. He tried and tried, but finally he could not find out any way out, and he sank down on the ground. So what did he do? He fell down on the ground, so much exhausted, tired to death. Thinking that his last moment had come. Now he thought that my last moment, that has come, I am going to die. Yes, sound hard, but just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a hard, regular thumping. Just as he was going to lay his head on the ground, as just he had done it, immediately he heard a thumping noise, a thumping sound. That means a striking sound, hitting sound. So he was very much sure what it was. There was no doubt as what that was. He raised himself. Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill, he understood. So immediately he rose himself. He understood that these are the sound coming from a iron mill. He thought there must be people nearby. So he realized that there must be people close by. He summoned all his strength. So he gathered, summoned means gathered. He gathered all his strength and got up from there and started walking unsteadily. Staggered means walked unsteadily. And because he is not able, he is so much tired. Okay, maybe hungry also. And he started to walking unsteadily towards the direction of the sound. The ramps to ironworks which are now, so the sound came from that place, ramps to ironworks. And now this paragraph talks about this ironworks, about this factory. Ramps to ironworks which are now closed down, now it has been closed down. And once you see that it was a great plant, a large plant, it was a very big factory with a smelter. So you see that there was an installation of a smelter or smelting of metals from its ore. That was done once. And not only that, rolling mill, it was a rolling mill also. That means the factory that produced the iron sheets. Okay. Then and forge and hearth was there, furnace was there. And in such a way you see that Ramsdow Iron Works, it was a great plant once. A great factory, big factory once. In the summertime, long lines of heavily loaded barges and scows slid down the canal. In summer times, in the canal there were lines of boats loaded with, you see that the goods, okay, barges and scows. Here means the boats, they sailed in a line, okay, loaded with the goods which were carrying to this plant, as well as taking the things from the plant. And this canal which led to a large inland lake. And in the winter time, the roads near the mill were black. So in winter time, you see that the roads near close to the mill were black. Why these roads looked black or appeared black? Because of the coal dust. Where from this coal dust came? And this coal dust which sifted, that means separated from the big charcoal crates. Crates means the big boxes used for transport. So while the boxes filled with the charcoal were carried out, okay, taken and to the mill, you see that the dust of charcoal fell in the road and made these roads really black. That means that much business was going on there. During one of the long dark evenings just before Christmas, you see that this was time, that is December and just before Christmas, and it was a very long dark evening. And that time the master smith and his helper, you could see two people there. One is the master smith, that is the main or the expert blacksmith, and one more fellow was there, that was his helper, a boy. Both of them sat in the dark forge. For here means workshop. Both of them were sitting nearby the workshop near the furnace. Okay, in the workshop near the furnace, and they were waiting for the pig iron. Pig iron means raw iron. So where was this raw iron? The raw iron that was already kept in the furnace, which had been put in the fire already. The raw iron that they had put in the fire, and they wanted to take it out. Okay, so they were waiting until it to be ready to put in the anvil. Anvil, you know that it's a long block of iron on which the blacksmith keep the heated the rods, and they beat on it. You might have seen a big block of iron, and that is used by the blacksmiths to hammer the things. And every now and then one of them got up to stir the glowing mass with a long iron bar. So every now and then one of them, either the blacksmith or the boy, got up and went nearby the fireplace. Here means the furnace. And why did they go there? In order to stir it, in order to stir or move the large mass or lump of iron with a long iron bar. They were using a long iron bar and moving it. Okay. Returning in a few moments, dripping with the perspiration. You could see that after a few minutes they come back with the perspiration, sweating over their body, fully sweating, because that much heat is there. Though as was the custom, they were wearing only the long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. All the time there were many sounds to be heard in the forge. All the time you could hear different sounds coming out from this workshop. Which are the sounds? You see that the big bellows, that means the big bellows, a type of pipe, you see that is used to blow air. So the sound that is coming from that pipe and groaned, and the burning coal cracked. And you see that the coal, when it is breaking apart, cracked means breaking apart, a sound comes out. Okay, so the sound of the, yes, the burning, or yes, coal which cracked or broken apart, and also the sound from that long pipe, groaning sound. The fire boy shoveled charcoal, and another sound, that was the fire boy. What did he do? He used to take the charcoal in a shovel and put into the mow means mouth, the mouth of the furnace. That time the sound came out. The sound, the great deal of a chatter noise was there. All this way you see that a lot of noise was there inside the furnace, and even outside the workshop. Outside roared the waterfall. There was the sound of waterfall. It was roaring, and a sharp north wind. And already you see that there was, yes, the north wind was blowing and whipped. Whipped here means, yes, so blew or thrusted the rain into the, yes, rain against the brick tiled roof. You see that the roof that was tiled with the bricks, and on that the rain was falling, and it became sharper with the, yes, the wind blowing from the north. It was probably on account of all this noise that the blacksmith did not notice that a man had opened the gate and entered the forge until he stood close to the furnace. Maybe because of all this noise inside as well as outside, the master smith, he did not notice a person entered the furnace, entered the workshop, and stood just nearby the furnace. Okay, he opened the gate and came and stood nearby the furnace. He did not notice, maybe because of this noise. Surely it was nothing unusual for poor vagabonds without any better shelter for the night to be attracted to the forge by the glow of light which escaped through the sooty panes. Sooty means the glass panes covered with a soot. That means, okay, dust or smoke. And it is not an unusual thing. It usually happens there. Many poor vagabonds or wanderers, they used to come to this factory, seeing the faint light, yes, coming through these sooty windows or smoky windows. It's not clear. So through that you see that the dim light used to come out, and after seeing that, usually the poor vagabonds or the wanderers are attracted to take a shelter, okay, temporary shelter in the, yes, in the factory. It is a usual thing. So it was not an uncommon thing. And to come, they used to come to warm themselves and also to sleep there nearby the fire for one night. The blacksmith's glance only is usually, okay. So when he saw this man standing nearby the furnace, he just looked in a casual way. That means not giving much importance, okay, in an informal way, or we can say that in not internally or relaxed way. And indifferently at the intruder. Intruder means trespasser, one who entered there without any, yes, permission. And he looked at this man and without much interest or indifferently. Indifferently means without much interest and an informal way. He looked the way like other people, okay. He looked the same like other wanderers, other vagabonds. Typically, you see that usually they look alike with the dirty dress as well as the long beard, and you see torn clothes or ragged. And here also he was hanging, so what's the rat traps on his chest. Dangling means hanging. He was, yes, hanging rat traps, a bunch of rat traps on his chest. So this man, he looked the same like all other vagabonds, dirty as well as ragged. He asked permission to stay, and now he asked to the blacksmith's permission to stay there, and the master blacksmith nodded. What did he do? He did not answer anything. He just, yes, shook his head, nodded in a haughty consent. Haughty consent means in an arrogant consent. He had given an arrogant permission without giving any concession to a man. Okay, he gave the permission, not even, yes, using a word, just shook his head and honored him with a single word. He did not try to respect him with even a single word. And dear students, I hope all of you understood this much part. So we will discuss the other parts in the coming videos. Thank you for watching it.